I'm joined in by Mr. Arvind Narrain. He is a lawyer and an activist of the LGBT community and has worked within and for the community from a long time. Sir, it was supposed to be a big day for you guys today, but it didn't turn out to be a good one. Few mixed judgment. How do you see the judgment at the first?
See, we have a bit of a slightly longer term perspective, considering the fact that we waged the struggle for decriminalization for over 17 years, and surely we don't expect to get marriage rights in a year or 2 years. So we see this as a step forward and a step in the right direction, and laying out a path as far as the future is concerned. Of course, we're disappointed like everybody else by the fact that you have not got the right to marry under the Special Marriage Act.
Logo.
But at the same time, we're we're very happy that the judgment has, in no unambiguous terms, recognized the rights of the LGBTQI community. In particular, is recognized rights of transgender people to marry without any doubt or ambiguity. It is also undoubtedly, without any doubt, recognized the right to be protected against violence and discrimination by both state and non-state actors. So a range of minor ways or important ways where the judgment helps you take your struggle forward. It has also indicated maybe the limit points of what the courts can give you, and told you in no uncertain terms that we need to reorient a battle in a larger political direction.
So you believe only a few battles have been won, but the long war is still there for you guys to fight.
Yeah, we believe that this is a step in the right direction. Of course, we've not got the right to marry through this particular judgment, but we've got a certain base which we can build on and continue making the case. A committee is going to be constituted or has to be constituted as per the judgment. Before the committee, we continue making the case of the right to recognize of the rights which flow out of a relationship. And we hope, again, as Akai, who was a petitioner in this case, made a very, very important point. She said that it's end of the day, it's a political process. The LGBTQ community should be represented in Parliament, and we should be able to move for a law which recognizes the rights of same-sex and transgender people to get married.
I'll come to you on the committee, but before that, I want to know that the court also observed that they cannot include you in the Special Marriage Act also because that will take away all the effort that the country has done in these many years bringing other communities together. How do you see that? Do you feel that they've left you out again?
On the Special Marriage Act, again, there are two opinions. Justice, the opinion which is clear is all the judges are clear that we can't think of recognizing the LGBTQ community under the Special Marriage Act because it's a bridge too far. The judiciary can at best interpret laws, they can't remake laws. So the entire point will be act of judicial, it will be act of remaking that particular legislation the way they saw it. So again, the point being that we need to go back and advocate for a new law on this particular point. We of course disagree with the interpretation that the Special Marriage Act cannot include the LGBTQ community. Why we disagree with that particular interpretation is because the Special Marriage Act is a special law which comes in to say that we should recognize marriages outside the frame of religion and caste. Two people, of course heterosexual, can get married outside the frames of both religion and caste. So it's not within the frame of religion or caste. And so our entire argument, of course, this is one step further. Now we interpret it also include the right of same-sex couples or transgender people to get married. The court didn't grant us that right, but that's a right we'll continue to fight for.
You started your point saying that it took us 17 years to decriminalize it and now we don't expect the country to give you a verdict so fast. By saying that, do you really believe that the country is not forward enough to accept you or we have not achieved that epitome of understanding on this?
Yeah, no, see again, right? I mean, what I found positive in the entire judgment is look at all the judgments, all 5 judgments, all 4 judgments. All of them are unambiguous that LGBTQ people are human beings and deserve rights. The only difference of opinion they have is to what extent they're willing to go and the route they're willing to follow. So, and that's a big shift, that's one. Secondly, the shift which I want to talk about is the Union of India's shift. When the Union of India began the arguments in court, the point that they made is that this is an issue for Parliament to decide. This matter should be dismissed out of hand. The next point that they made is the issue which is confined to elite people, couple of lesbians and gays in urban areas, blah blah blah. Large majority of people don't care, so this issue doesn't concern large number of people. finally they got to the point of saying that we'll constitute a committee under the cabinet secretary to recognize the rights of the community. So there's a shift and change which has happened already. That's one. Secondly, you see the community, right? The community is so vast, diverse, and multifarious now that you see that in the country has changed quite irrevocably ever since the 2018 judgment. So I'm very hopeful that we'll get a positive, not maybe a judgment, but we'll get the recognition of the right to marry through parliamentary route in future.
You said that the fight was against the Union of India, and the present Union of India is very strong when it comes to homosexuality and the idea of homosexuality. They believe that these were things that were not written in the Shastra, these were things that were not there before, and things like these should not be touched or should not be encouraged. How do you think your battle will be now that the court has passed this judgment to the legislative? How difficult will it be to make them understand this?
Again, see, we have to advocate with the Union of India, understanding the fact that there's been a shift even in the position that they've taken. They've moved from being complete opposition to recognizing the fact that you are entitled to some rights. That's a shift which has happened as far as Union of India is concerned. So we have to continue making the case that again, if you go back to Justice Kaul's opinion, very interesting that he mentions the fact that the talks of relationship recognition in reference to the fact of Rigveda. So there are ways in which you can make a cultural argument for recognition of LGBTQ rights, and I think there are ways in which you approach this as far as the Union of India is concerned.
Okay. So also one more thing, now that the committee will be set up as per the court's order, and the court has also said it's now for the parliament to make changes into their laws. First thing I want to ask you is that for the parliament to understand something, you need a political representation, or you need a presentation at least over there, a representation over there. But you guys have nothing in the parliament especially. Secondly, you have very few sympathizers. Most of them are staunch orthodox people who don't understand this clearly. How difficult is this going to be, taking it forward to the committee? What are you expecting from the government when a committee will be constituted?
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you're making. I think it just tells you that we have one step ahead is a long way ahead. And the idea of building a political base is very important. Again, the point which Akshay Padmashali is making again and again is saying that, how can you decide? When the government makes the point that let Parliament decide, how can Parliament decide if there's not a single person from the LGBTQ community in Parliament? So our point, of course, is advocacy with all political parties, saying you have to have at least representation of the LGBTQ community. We're going to begin that process of fighting and ensuring the political parties recognize LGBTQ community first, and they're present in Parliament, and decisions in Parliament are made when LGBTQ people are present. You can't decide anything about us without us there being present in Parliament.
So how do you see the future now, sir? Taking from this judgment, like after the 2018 judgment, there was this scope and you came till here. How do you think your future will be now?
See, we see the battle as a socio-legal battle. And we've seen the 2018 judgment liberated enormous amount of energy. We've seen a range of people out there in public, out there on the street, and the range of public actions which are really happening. So this judgment, again, some people will be very disappointed and very angry, and we are hoping we can channel the disappointment and anger in a positive direction towards building a future where LGBTQ people have the right to marry.
Well, that was Mr. Arvind, who clearly sounded hopeful, not disappointed, but dissatisfied with a few parts of the judgment. But on an overall, they believe that yes, this judgment is a step forward from what was not given to them, and they hope that they are given representation in the committee so that they're able to make the people in the parliament understand about their community in a better way.